how to bootstrap your startup with a job and then raise investment. I'm going to give you a full course on how to do it, put it out there. It's got 7 steps and too long did not read. The whole point is to bootstrap, meaning that you're not going to go after institutional capital, no VC, anything like that. You're going to use a job to be your revenue source. You're going to build your startup. And then how do you raise investment after that to, in essence, quit your job? I'm going to give you the whole course. You're going to take it. So if you want to listen, just follow all the steps. It's going to take you about 20 minutes. You can just keep watching this over and over again. But I'm going to show you the playbook. Where does this come from? My first startup, I need an angel investor. The first startup, I met an angel investor. I said, hey, give me some money. I'm going to do this, etc. And that I had to pay the investor back and made a nice little return. We got acquired, all those things. My second startup, I was a little smarter, a little wiser. I didn't want investors. I wanted to have control. It was kind of an idea that was challenging to say the least. I had some theories on it, etc. And so I went and started without investors, and I worked a job, and freelance gigs to make as much money as possible. And then I started to generate revenue, and I made revenue. I made money. It was a SaaS platform. Before I even had the platform, I faked it and I charged money, and I did it manually, and I bootstrapped my way. And then eventually that company got acquired as well. And that company exists today and, still makes me money. Right. So it's fantastic. So this is where it comes from. I see too many founders. What they do is they think, oh, I'm going to come up with an idea and then I'm going to raise money. Right. Or I'm going to, spend my savings and I'm going to drop it all into building something. And then investors are going to give me money because I built something, and they're going to pay to help me figure out how to get customers. And then the same founders complain saying that investors won't give me money because they keep asking me, how much traction do I have? How much money have I made, etc. Well, that's what I need the money for. And I explained that's not how it works. Investors, professional investors, VC, venture capitalists will not give you money to figure out how to get customers and how to make money. They want to see you make it first, and they want you to use their money to accelerate and hyper growth, grow their business so that you can become that, hockey stick unicorn, baby unicorn on a rocket ship, going to the moon, past the moon. So how do you do this? And how do you get to that place where you're just like, I'm going to make enough money to get investors interested without breaking the bank? Again, founders cash in their retirements, their savings, and they build something that flops, and then they're completely done. I was in a situation with a startup like that. I ended up coming in angel investor, came as CEO to try rescue the company, but the main founder made such a big mistake in cashing in all their retirement to try and make it work, and it didn't work. And then they put so much pressure on the startup, couldn't handle it, had to get out of there, type thing. Brutal experience. So this is a way for you to do things that helps you with your mental health and doesn't put you through the same grind. Because raising money, raising VC and doing that, even though it seems glorious with all the articles and, what have you, is just a soul crushing, thankless experience, especially if you have investors at the table, and they got board seats and they have equity and they have certain amounts of control, and they're exerting pressure on you to spend their capital a certain way or to raise more capital, etc. If you don't want to go unicorn and go public, etc., it's a tough place to be. So this is a potential solution. So you're going to bootstrap your startup with a job, then raise investment. Nothing wrong with getting a job. Let me just clarify here, okay? The first step, straightforward, simple, get a job. A lot of people make this assumption that I'm living, on this high life in terms of all my startup exits. I've had some nice startup exits, but not enough to be independently wealthy type thing. I'm not that type of founder. I'm a working founder, and I enjoy startups that I'm constantly incubating, accelerating. And yes, I am a general partner of an investment fund and accelerator, and work with companies at all stages, and I've done angel investment. But I have a job because I'd rather have access to capital that I've generated, that I have control over, and having a job is just easy way to do it, right? And instead of going and having that pressure and going and um paying that cost of opportunity. And what do I mean by that? If you're young, say you're 19 years old, you got the world ahead of you, you can make all the mistakes, go for it. You live in your parents' house. If they'll let you live for no rent and, work out of the basement or the garage, build something, hack away, go for it. YOLO your life away. But I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I got a mortgage and all those things. And so what do? I work a job that allows me tremendous amounts of flexibility. And guess what? The skills that, and I got these jobs because of a failed startup, but the skills that I have as a founder to be entrepreneurial inside a company, which I call intrapreneurial, are high value to a company. And I generate value. And I love the fact that I don't have to worry about running out of money because I maintain income. So go get a job. I don't care what it is. Like I told you before, I had a full-time job and I freelanced in the evenings to raise enough money to be able to build my startup. And then I started selling my startup and making money with that almost as a consultant. And I just kept going until I got to the place where I could quit my job and live off my startup, right? And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So you're going to get a job, freelance, do whatever, just start generating some income and learn how to do that. Next, you're going to save money. And it's simple. Your income must be greater than your expenses. And people, my family jokes all the time. They say, Ed, if you made $1 million tomorrow, we know you wouldn't change your lifestyle, it'd be earmarked for other things that you want to do. And that's absolutely correct. I've chosen a certain lifestyle where I reduce the expenses and I live lean and mean because I want access to, whatever disposable cash I have to build startups because I can't help it. It's in my blood. I have to do it. I cannot not do startup. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've chosen this lifestyle. I love it. So I don't think I'm ever going to get out of the game. I tell people that you might have heard about the FIRE movement, financially independent, retired early. Well, I believe in the FIRES movement. I've kind of absconded it and made it my own. FIRES, which is financially independent, retired early, secretly. I'm always going to be working. Nobody's going to know, where I stand, but they can see. People can see a mile away. I live lean and mean so that I have the income to be able to sock away in startups. And this is a really great tip. So you can calculate the runway. I was talking to founder previously before this, Paul, of the founder of Social Popcorn, the app. Great app. We talked about it. It's a lot of fun. You're going to see more news come from me about it and Paul. But he was telling me, Ed, I wouldn't be able to build my startup if I didn't have this job, that allowed, flexibility and different things like that. But what he does is he saves money and then he earmarks it into a different account that can go into a startup or can be used for a rainy day if he's an emergency or something like that. He earmarks the money. And that's his way of a disciplined approach. And I used to do that as well when I had young people and I was mentoring them with money and they weren't good at money, et cetera. And they would get their check on Friday and go to a check cashing store, the worst thing in the world, but they needed that money right away. I would drive them and then they'd come back with the cash and I'd have 3 envelopes and I put, their rent and all this stuff, their obligations, one envelope. And then the last envelope, there was writing on the envelope was their discretionary cash and what they could left over that they could spend going to the movies or, other stuff that wasn't the best in terms of their habits, which is the reason they were kind of in that position in the first place. And I would give them the envelope and the rest, I would say, you know what, I need to keep this so that you can pay your rent and your bills, etc. So Paul, what he does is so he can get an idea of how he's managing his cash flow. He can go and see he's earmarked certain amount of money to invest in a startup. And that's your runway. So your runway is how much money's coming in versus how much money's coming out and how much time you have before it runs out. Here's the thing. If you only have $500 surplus at the end of the month to invest in your startup, that's your runway. Okay. This prevents the founder, you, from going out there and saying, oh, I'm going to throw it all in here. And then guess what? I can't make it to the next stage until I have $100,000 to build up my app. It shouldn't work like that if you want to bootstrap. Okay, sure. If you got a great idea, crazy idea, you code something, and you're going to go for VC money, and you get into Y Combinator or Incubator Accelerator, or you find that really generous angel, like I did one time, that just gave me, money to get started, then great. That's for you. But if you're not interested in that, or you've tried and you can't get there, calculate your runway on a month-to-month basis. And then guess what? If you only have $500, there are lots of things that you can do with your startup with that $500. For example, you can pay, like, I don't even know what it is these days, like $19 a month to get on a low code platform. Then what you can do is pay for a WordPress site or different things, get a domain out there, with a responsive website, Squarespace, the full e-commerce package is only like $30, $40 a month. Last time I checked, there's low code platforms where you can just tinker away and just move things around. There's even no code platforms where you can build apps and they'll, allow you to test things. And with no code, I'm even talking about, like, instead of trying to create your own chat app, use Slack, go use WhatsApp or just text message or different things, do things manually. And that's a lot of great startups start just manual process. In the beginning with my SaaS platform that I bootstrapped, I pretended I manually made all the printouts and pretend like the software exists for employee engagement and culture analytics. And I asked, what would you pay for this? And they said $3,000. And I said, okay, done. I'm going to do it. And I used Excel spreadsheets to gather the data. And then I was up to wee hours in the morning, doing things manually. That's a total no code solution. No code necessary, Excel, all that stuff. So those are the techniques that you can use to, get things going as far as calculating your runway. And so again, now if you have $1,000 at the end of the month, you got some more options. But this is what I like to do. If I'm incubating a startup and I got an idea, I look at what portion of my discretionary income I'm willing to carve off to invest in that startup. And I only develop up to that point in time. And if I run out of money, guess what? I move to the next month. And that's going to make every dollar count. Because when you only have, let's say, $500 a runway, you're going to figure out, how do I turn $500 into maybe $100 more so that I can, show some traction, or maybe double it this month so that I can add this other feature and, do all these things, or, get other customers, etc. That's how you do it. If you think about it, like my son, he's trying to do a YouTube channel. He wants to be a YouTuber. 1/3 of all kids, Gen Z, want to be influencers, but he has to slowly start to gear up before he starts getting fancier. And I'm his investor. I wouldn't let him upgrade his cameras and different things like that till he hits certain levels of traction, which we're going to get into. And how do you get to that investor? Okay, so calculate runway, stick with a state discipline. The next is get that revenue model going. Okay, figure out, if I got $500 a month, how do I turn $500 and make money with $500? That's your job to figure out. That's what founders are designed to do if it's in your blood. And guess what? Investors love that story. So it's the exercise. So you say, how do I take $500 and turn it and make a profit of it? Turn it into $1,000, etc. Because if you can take $1 and turn it into $2, you know how to take $1 million and turn it into $10 million eventually. Believe me. That's the whole exercise of unit economics that investors want to see, that founders are able to do in terms of an exercise. So you've saved money, $500. You calculate runway. This month I have $500. What's my revenue for $500? That's bootstrapping, everybody. That's how you do it. And it's a mental shift. But again, I see founders all the time say, we're going to get this money and then we're going to hire staff and we're going to expand and we're going to do marketing. Again, I can't not tell you enough. Investors won't give you money to figure out your product or figure out how to market yourself. They want to know, have you figured out? Andreessen Horowitz talks about getting out of the idea maze. When I hear investors and they say, okay, we're going to allocate the staff, etc., if they haven't proven out their investment thesis on how they use the money and validate their assumptions that money is going to generate a return, there's no way I'm going to invest at that stage. And there's no way that other professional investors are going to invest either. So calculate your revenue model. And now you got to get creative. because you're not going to make revenue from, 10,000 people paying you $10 a month for your app. You're not even going to reach 10,000 people. So maybe you have to figure out alternative. Maybe you have to do a concierge service and deliver things manually like I did, and, figure out how to generate money the alternative way. So at least it gets you in front of your customers and you learn and you're validating your idea as you go. Then what do? You tell your FFAs, friends, family, and associates. They go in that order. And here's the reason you do that. You tell your friends, family, and associates. You start with your friends and you say, I started a business. It's a side hustle. I'm doing this. And you show them your idea validation deck. What is that deck? It's simple. It's a problem, solution, market size, how you're different, and your background, and like how the business is going to work, and then your background. That's really what it is. You're not asking for investment, anything like that. You tell your friends, and you tell your friends, hey, I'm gonna go for it. Now, friends come first. And some people, there's a little difference. Like, should go talk to family, what have you. I don't want to involve my family in my startups at all. I've had family members, try to give me money, etc., and it started off okay, but I don't want to have the awkward Thanksgiving dinner. I don't want to feel guilty, showing up because I lost, money at Christmas, and figure out what type of present I should buy that's commensurate to the fact that I burned through all their cash, chasing this, wild goose chase of a startup idea, because startups are inherently risky. I don't want to work with family, but I will work with family members of friends. Okay. It may seem counterintuitive, but I'm even more motivated to do that, because if a dear friend of mine, knows someone in their family, like a rich uncle or what have you, then the friend can step out of the way. They can just introduce me to the family member, and I'll say, what, you can't be involved in it anymore. I just want to deal with your family member, directly. And, it just keeps everything on the level. It's a warm introduction, but I want friends to introduce me to their family. That's just me, but the point is that I'm working through the network. But then eventually you want to get to the associates. Everyone knows someone that they work with, or maybe they did an investment, they're in an investment club, or they go get investment advice from, etc. Like, they know someone who's written a big check and has done well with it. And it doesn't matter what type of check they wrote. I know investors, so what happens is a friend introduces a family member who introduced someone who just made a whole bunch of money in real estate and wants to dabble in software as an angel investor. That's all fair game. But you're showing them your idea validation deck, and you want to announce to everyone, you've started this, and here is where you've started. It's an idea, and you just want them to go, there. Isn't that cute? What a dream. Doing, and then you want to get their advice on whether they understand your startup or not. And that's the reason I circulate an idea validation deck. So what I do is I go to my friends and I say, hey, I'm doing this startup. And I do this all the time with my friends. My friends are probably sick of me. And I go, I just want some advice. Here's the problem solution. Tell me what you think. Do you even understand what problem I'm trying to solve and how I'm trying to solve it? And then I just get feedback. And that's how it works. And then what happens is they start to think of family members, and they start asking. And I say, I don't want investment right now. I don't want investment. I just want your feedback. I want advice, because as the adage goes, if you want advice, ask for investment. But if you want investment, ask for advice. So I'm always asking for advice. And then eventually someone goes, do you need money for this? Type thing, like I can go get money, etc. So I'm always keeping my friends really posted on what I'm doing. And I announce to them, and I send them the deck, and I send them what I'm doing, and get them to give me feedback on the idea. And now you planted the seed. This is important. All right. Next, then what do? You update them on your milestones. And this is all about creating FOMO, fear of missing out. So I say, I'd like to keep you posted on, different milestones. I don't like the investor update, and, and I'm just going to be transparent. It drives me nuts. I'm not an investor in a company, yet someone wants to send me their investor update. Not interested. I'm not an investor. Like, buy me dinner first, type thing, instead of talking to me like we're going to get married. And, because it is like a marriage when you invest in a startup, because you're looking for a 7 to 10 year journey. Right. So what I do is can I keep you all updated? And depending on how I send out the updates, it could be casually, it could be a text or different things like that. Or, I know some people say, I have a monthly phone call where someone can just come in and listen, or a meeting or what have you. Like, every first Tuesday night of the month, I give investor updates. You can drop in anytime, et cetera. Right. But what you're doing is you're creating FOMO. So for example, I announced to people I wanted to get into like this gaming venture that was going to eventually be on blockchain, crypto. There's my vision, et cetera. I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And part of it was NFTs. And so, what I announced casually to my group, so matter of fact, I just sold my first NFT. I did it. It worked. I figured out the system, all those things. People were like, wait, what? Because if in the beginning you got this big grandiose idea, I go, I don't know if this is going to work or not. They're morbidly curious. Most of them probably think it's not going to work, or they go, it's a great idea. Good luck pulling it off. Maybe they have a pessimistic view about it. Maybe they just want to be cheerleaders and they get more excited. But I just give my milestones, matter of fact. And some people then start saying, do you need money? I've had conversations with associates where I show them my idea validation deck, and then I go, thanks. And then they go, aren't you going to ask for money? Because we'd give you money. I thought you were going to come and ask for money. Like, they're already in that FOMO because I got the reputation that I'm just giving milestones and what's happening. I go, no, I'll keep you posted. And I never jump right on the chance. In fact, when someone offers me, like, let's say they offer me $20,000 to go, and they're a friend or a family member of a friend or an associate, I go, I feel much more comfortable showing you what I can do with $10,000. Now, here's the thing. This is the best part. If you bootstrapped your way to glory so far, you can take $10,000 and turn that into $20,000 if you learn how to do it, or $30,000 or $50,000. Because guess what? You understand your unit economics. You're not at the point where you say, well, I need to raise $500,000 to finish my platform and do all this and do all that. So when someone's sitting there thinking about the investment, they're going to be asking themselves, well, what is my 20 grand going to do? Think about that for a second. So are they motivated? So instead, I keep them updated on milestones. And then when someone is ready to ask for investment, then what happens is they say, or I tell them, listen, I've learned that for every $10,000 that I've invested in this company, it's made, $20,000. And I think I can double it. But now, guess what? If I get more money, I think I can triple it. And you're just explaining, and you giving them the milestones. Guess what? I got my first customer. Guess what? We got our first order, in this vertical that we've been trying to go after. Guess what? We got our first, testimonial, and this is what they said. And it's so matter of fact that you're like, I'm no big deal. I've been, I'm in no rush. I'm bootstrapping my way through this. And wow, it starts to work out really great. And then people start thinking, wait a second. So if I get in now, and this is where I come up with funky terms, and I say, bridge me, this inventory, and I'll give you 10%, or I'll give you a discount when we do an equity round, or, if not, there's all these ways that you can structure, because usually when you're at this stage, you're going to do things on convertible debt anyway, right? So, or safe. So you kick the valuation can, the kick the can down the road as far as a valuation conversation. So I'm updating them on milestones, and I'm not pumping the tires, because as soon as you say, oh my gosh, we just landed the biggest client ever, their expectations are going to go through the roof. These are not professional investors. If a founder told me that right now and said, oh, Ed, we just landed, it's just a big victory and all these things, I know, like, total, I'm invested with some of them. They're like hyperbolic CEOs. I just roll my eyes and I go, appreciate the enthusiasm, but I just say, show me the data. I don't believe it. But friends, family, and associates at that level of investment, pre-seed, maybe pre-revenue, they're going to hold you to that. Their expectations are going to go sky high because they don't know any better, right? So you don't go, oh, amazing news, and don't get hyperbolic. Just be so matter of fact. In fact, I say some of the best founders are the most boring founders when they talk about their financials. They're just so matter of fact, I chunked in 10 grand and I made 15 grand. I want to optimize it, etc. We lost a bit of money on this. We made it back here. I like those types of founders, and so does everyone else, because then you start to go, wait a second. people say, is he talking to other investors? And I've talked to founders that, do this technique, and they get their friends calling and saying, before you talk to anybody else, you need to talk to my guy, type thing, because we all want to give referrals to each other. We all have FOMO, and we all want to give each other good referrals because we want to get cut in on the deals, right? So update everybody on your milestones. You pick the way to do it and create that FOMO. Just be matter of fact. And now you're churning away, churning. And the other thing that you update them on is how much money that you personally put in. Because if you're the person like, I want to use other people's money, people aren't going to be interested. And it's like, that whole thing, always use other people's money. That's so slimy and so creepy. Put your own money in, show them how you are scraping the bottom of the barrel and you're bootstrapping and you're making things work and you're investing every penny that you have into the business. Investors appreciate it. I appreciate it. Everyone's going to appreciate it. Future co-founders, future staff, all of them are going to appreciate it because it's going to be a great story that you can tell for your culture. Final step, raise enough to quit. Don't raise enough to say, I'm going to, build this, et cetera, et cetera. It's too big of a race. Too big of a race for you. I'm going to venture to say, if you've made it all the way to step 7 and you're good and you got people who are interested in it, well, then you have the value. If you put in more time in your startup and you went full time, that startup would make more money. And so what you do is you tell your investors, listen, I want to raise enough money to put in, a year's worth of salary. Here's, and you might have made the money already and it's making money, but you say, if I quit, I think I can put more money, more time and generate more money and do projections. And that makes so much sense to the friends, family, and associates around investors. They're like, yeah, he's doing so much. And he needs to start managing and hiring people, et cetera. You raise enough money to quit. That's what you do. And you put it out there and you say, here are the economics and stuff. And, and if you can say, listen, I just need 6 months to build it up and I think I can get there anyway, but maybe you just need a little more security. This gives me a year, 12 months, and then I'm going to make this amount of money. And then I'll raise official capital type thing. Then I'll get other investors and what have you. But if not, guess what? You bootstrapped your way. I'll at least be making a living and I'll be able to generate everybody enough of a return. And this is what I tell people all the time. I say, I'm going to build this. I'm going to build the software, but I've been doing, we're going to have a consulting arm in the business. And if anything, I'll be able to pay you out, break even if it doesn't work out. Those are the types of conversations that you have because say, I'll be able to break you even because guess what? I'm full-time now and I'll be making money to make sure that you're protected and that you're whole. Those are the conversations that people like to have. So stay out of the whole, I'm going to raise money and VC, and I'm going to burn through VC money and I'm going to do that. And VCs lose money all the time. Don't be cavalier about this. If you legitimately want to raise money, you don't want to go VC and you want to bootstrap, walk through these steps and be your own investor. And if you can do that through your own efforts and bootstrapping, you're going to appreciate investment so much more and you'll be financially literate and disciplined at such a level that most founders do not have. That guess what? It's not a young person's game. There are stats out there that the older you are, the average age of a successful founder is in their 40s. That's the average age or the median age or, whatever it is. But we hear all these stories about kids quitting university, all that stuff, but they don't know the business of business. If you actually follow these steps, you're going to be so much wiser with capital. And that's not even the stats where I believe there are more successful founders because they've turned their startups, maybe it hasn't gone unicorn or been acquired or anything like that, but they've turned them into legitimate businesses. They become legitimate entrepreneurs. And what's wrong with a company that's making $5 to $10 million a year that you bootstrap, that you don't have VC money on, et cetera, and you can, pull your profit check. You can pay yourself a salary of, $200,000 a year and pull another $500,000 a year as a bonus because of dividends and keep rolling. And that grows into pulling $1 million a year. Guess what? You're going to be a unicorn no time flat based on your lifestyle, based on what you want to do, your level of exit. No investors breathing down your neck. It's what I highly recommend. So there's your full course, how to bootstrap and with a job, then raise money. Leave a comment. feel free to reach out to me if you're part of the startups.com community accelerator, and we can have conversation all the time. Like I said, I'm running office hours every single day for founders to come and talk about, one, how to raise money, what type of money they should raise, how to go about it, and what traction they need, how to get that traction, etc. I hope this has been helpful. I know this has been a bit longer, but if you're serious about this, you've stuck through it, let me know what you think. And thank you so much for everybody. I've been getting some really great comments from people. It's been very encouraging. So I hope this material continues to be helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.